We have been to Luzern a couple of times. The first time was before the pandemic when we spent half a day, and the second time was a day trip coming from Interlaken. After visiting Iselwald and Sigrisville in the Interlaken region, we took the 9:04 a.m. Luzern-Interlaken Express on our way to Luzern. The train runs on an hourly schedule between 6 a.m. and 9 p.m. The journey to Luzern took approximately 1 hour and 50 minutes, and we arrived just before 11 o'clock in the morning. Coming from Zurich, Luzern is a 40 to 50-minute train ride. Upon reaching Luzern, we looked for the luggage lockers on platform 13 and deposited our backpacks. Our first order of business was to buy tickets for the boat ride on Lake Luzern. On our first trip, we failed to do this activity because of our limited time. We exited the train station on the Bahnhofplatz side, where you can see the Welcome to Luzern sign. We crossed the street to get to the lakeside to the Luzern Bahnhofquai. The Bahnhofquai is a quay and shipping terminal where the ferry ticketing offices are located. We asked the ticketing agent if we'd like to cruise the lake, and she suggested getting a round-trip ticket to Kehrsiten Bürgenstock. We bought 2 round-trip tickets at 12.60 Swiss francs with our half-fare card. At that time, even the regular ticket was heavily discounted, as the current price of a typical round-trip ticket is at least 36 francs. The ferry leaves at the 7th minute of the hour at landing 3. As it was only 11:20 in the morning, we looked for a place where we could have lunch. Fortunately, we chanced upon a newly opened Christmas market near the train station at Inseli Park. We walked around the park before settling for waffles we consumed on a lakeside table.
It's good. It's a little cold right now. It's not ready, but it's okay. It's so good. I think that it's good. Nutella always is good.
After lunch, we walked back to the Bahnhofquai landing 3 to wait for the boat that would take us to Kehrsiten Bürgenstock and back. The boat ride is a 50-minute round-trip cruise on Lake Luzern. As we reached Kehrsiten Bürgenstock, we stayed on the boat while passengers embarked and disembarked. Upon returning to the Bahnhofquai, we walked westward on Bahnhofplatz and turned right on Spreuer. After crossing the bridge, we followed the road for about 300 meters, turned left, crossed the road to get to Alpenstrasse, and continued north for another 300 meters. We turned right to cross the street to get to Löwenplatz. From Löwenplatz, we turned left on Denkmalstrasse, and after 100 meters, we saw the entrance to the Lion Monument on our right.
Wow! Ay, ito na nga! Ay, ang laki pala eh! Akala ko maliit lang siya.
Ang laki yan. Tapos pwede kang may tubig yung ano dyan.
Ang laki pala eh!
During our first visit, my husband was surprised to see how huge the monument was. From what we saw in the pictures, we thought it was just a life-sized sculpture of a lion. The Lion Monument was created to commemorate the Swiss Guards massacred in 1792 during the French Revolution. Next to the Lion Monument is the Glacier Garden, where we went to the museum and mirror maze during our first visit. Since then, there are now additional attractions and exhibits. I have linked in the description the Glacier Garden website for more information. The next item on our itinerary was the Chapel Bridge. We walked back the same route until we reached Spreuer. Before the bridge crossing, we turned right on Roundtrip, and ahead was the entrance to the Chapel Bridge. The bridge is considered to be Europe's oldest covered bridge. It was originally built in the 14th century as part of the city fortifications. On our second time on the Chapel Bridge, there were not a lot of visitors compared to the first time when there were a lot of tourists. We walked the entire length of the bridge to cross the Reuss River and emerged on the other side on Bahnhofstrasse. We walked westbound on Bahnhofstrasse for 120 meters to get to the Jesuit Church. The church is the first large Baroque church in Switzerland. After our short visit to the church, we crossed Reusbrücke to get to the other side of the river. We followed the road northward and turned left on Mullenplatz to get to the entrance of the Spreuer Bridge. The Spreuer Bridge is another covered timber bridge on the Reuss River, though somewhat shorter and less dominant than the Chapel Bridge. The last item on our itinerary was to visit at least one Christmas market. Our original plan was to see the Christmas market at Franziskanerplatz, right behind the Jesuit Church, but we may have been too early as the scheduled opening was not until the next day. During this time, the Christmas market schedules were in flux due to COVID restrictions. We decided to return to the Christmas market we found at the lakeside park where we had lunch. From the Spreuer Bridge, we walked east to get back to Inseli Park. While walking on Bahnhofstrasse, we browsed through some of the stalls and the items that were being sold. We had to present our COVID pass at the Christmas market before entry. We spent 2 hours browsing through the stalls, shopping, and eating at the Christmas market. During our interactions with the vendors, we learned that the Christmas market's official name is Rudolfs Weihnachtmarkt. By 5 p.m., we were ready to return to our home base near Lake Constance. We returned to the train station to wait for our train to go to Zurich.